Hey, my name's Christian and I'm a journalist within the newsroom at Manx Radio. Now, towards the end of May, we were told I'll Learn was set to permanently close as a result of financial difficulties.
I'll Learn Limited has announced its pending closure, citing financial difficulties. It's been the island's only private learning centre for early years practitioners, teaching assistants and workers in the adult and social care sectors. A statement says it's made the difficult decision after exploring every possible way in which the situation could be improved.
It's been the Isle of Man's only private learning centre for early years practitioners, teaching assistants and workers in the adult and social care sectors, and has had more than 900 clients come through their doors since it opened 8 years ago. However, shortly after the announcement, it prompted employers to speak out, with one describing it as a body blow to government's childcare strategy. The owner of Hopes and Dreams Childcare Group, Gary Pearce, told Manx Radio it leaves a void.
The news when it was announced of I'll Learn closing is absolutely devastating for the childcare sector and more broadly for the island. We've worked with I'll Learn over the last 8 years in supporting our staff to learn and gain qualifications with them. And they've always stood for quality in their education, and it shows through in the confidence, the skills and the qualifications that our learners have been able to get with them. I'll Learn were instrumental when UCM shifted its focus away from the sector, and for people working within the sector, I'll Learn were the only or one of the main routes to getting qualifications, which are both required by registration and inspections in terms of operating in the regulatory environment, but also in terms of providing career progression and making it an attractive proposition for people to move into a career caring and educating our young children. So they're a fundamental role that they've played over the last 8 years, and as I say, it's devastating news.
And it's not just early years practitioners, of course. We're talking teaching assistants and workers in the adult and social care sectors as well. In all of those areas, do you think there will need to be a renewed focus now and exploring other options because those qualifications, of course, are necessary?
Whilst my area of expertise is the childcare sector, I can't help but think the same devastation will be felt within the other sectors you mentioned. The island is in desperate need of the services of social workers, teachers, nurses, support workers within those sectors as much as it is within the childcare sector. And our young people, and in fact the whole island population, needs the support of these type of skilled workers if we're going to hit any of the goals and objectives of the childcare strategy, but more widely of the island plan. It would appear that the government have really a challenge in trying to fill the void that I'll Learn will leave. And I'm hopeful that they are building that plan and have the means to fill that void. Otherwise, a lot of the strategies in the island plan stand very little chance, from my perspective, of coming to fruition.
Talking about that news today, Gary, how much of a surprise was that?
This was completely out of the blue as far as I was concerned. The childcare sector has relied on I'll Learn, and we have, as a sector, I think, been training up lots of people. So that was the only sort of visibility that we had into the operations at I'll Learn. I mean, I appreciate it's been a very, very difficult period, but I know they've been developing plans to broaden the range of courses. They were posting on social media about, potential to deliver social worker degree courses. I mean, that all sounds very healthy and something that was absolutely needed. So I am stunned by their announcement and very saddened. We've known Eddie and Anne for those 8 years and worked very, very well with them. And if you think of the people, the owners of the business that are impacted, but the team that work there, who are all brilliant, but also all of the learners that are studying with them, that they will look after, but their families, the people that won't have the opportunities in future, to further their development, to learn new skills and support the island. It's a body blow to a lot of the childcare strategy, which is fundamentally requires the workforce to be expanded and to be upskilled in terms of what we're able to provide for the children.
Government has recently announced a new childcare scheme which would enable more parents access to childcare, meaning those with kids that are 1 year old would also be eligible to receive credit. But earlier this year, we've already heard the number of child daycare spaces available on the Isle of Man has fallen by more than 160. That was in part put down to a fall in the birth rate over the past decade. However, there is still a shortage of places for under twos, which the Health Minister insists officers are working with providers to look at sustainable ways to grow provision. So if there's less people entering the workforce due to Ireland's closure, how could this affect the industry? There were due to be 120 people hoping to obtain qualifications from Ireland, which would have seen an injection of qualified nurses, childcare and adult and social care staff into the workforce pool. They've now been told they'll have to go elsewhere and the courses have been cancelled. But for those students who are currently studying, they're being fast-tracked to complete their respective courses in the next 6 weeks. So how are they feeling?
I was actually gobsmacked and devastated of hearing about the closure. The impact on everybody, not just myself, on employment, going to be terrible. Being able to do the course and work at the same time and support the family financially is massive, because I couldn't go to college and be able to support my family and do the course as well.
I was quite shocked, really. All of us are doing it while working, and this is the only option because, we need to be able to work to earn, and be able to work at the same time is great. So college just wasn't an option. So this was fantastic for us. They're bringing people over from the UK, whereas why not train people that already work here, already live here? They definitely need to do something to save it, definitely.
I'm starting my nursing degree this September at Kielderby, and without IELTS, I would never have been able to achieve that.
Well, you can't find a lot of employees that will offer someone who doesn't have the qualifications. So I suppose, in effect, I would have to think about a career change.
I was shocked. I mean, I've never seen this kind of opportunity on the island before. So I work in Nobles Hospital, so I've got friends who I've recommended this course to, and even nursing staff who want to put some of their healthcare assistants onto the course. So to know or to hear that that's not going to be carrying on is a big, big shock. There's constant need for nurses over here. And from my experience being an 18-plus learner, it's very, very hard to go back into college, especially when it's younger people. So by having this course, it's bringing more nurses onto the island. So it is going to have a massive impact not having this, especially because you can work full-time doing this course. So by earning a living whilst also getting ready for a degree to be a nurse, I think that's massively important. And by not having that, it's going to impact the whole of Manx Care.
I just don't understand why the government wouldn't want to fund it. People that come out of it, all the ones that have done the course, have all seemed to have gone on and done well. And it's not something like you can get anywhere else. Like why they would not funding it, it just baffles me. Got to have so many qualified staff to run a nursery. So I think it will put pressure on the staff who are qualified to actually end up doing more work, because there's no one else that's going to be able to do it. I'm going to have to look at other options. I'm just limited now.
They're trying to encourage young people to come over, people with families, relocate. The advert was on the radio all last week. But we've got people here already that they should be investing in.
But if we've obviously got more people coming in, it's going to put a lot more pressure on us as staff as well.
So those are students at Ireland, but from an employer's perspective, how will this affect them?
I just feel a little bit like our employees are being unfairly treated with regards to career progression, because they're already working with me, gaining the apprenticeship so they can further their career. Whereas if they go to a UCM course, it doesn't mean they'll go directly into private childcare. We really need to retain these people to work in nurseries if the government is putting an onus on parents getting back to work.
School is not for everyone, and that included me. And school for some, again, including myself, was a scarring and a most unhappy time of my life. So I wish to thank you again today for campaigning to save ILearn, but more importantly, thank you for being you. It takes courage to show what you really want and to stand up and be counted. Stay strong, proud and happy, and keep learning.
Managing Director Ed Hall speaking there, and just before some of the current students. It's clear the attraction of I'll Learn is being able to continue working and then study on the side. Many of those students have families, which means the alternative option of studying at UCM is less appealing, as it would mean going into education full time. Nursery staff are required to have qualifications, and some of those students are studying level 3s, the highest being level 5. So if they're unable to continue their studies, will that stunt career progression in the long term? One of the students told me he felt limited and may have to consider a career change or travelling across instead. So what is being done about it? Has there been any political response? Douglas North MHK David Ashford was one of the first to pick up on the issue, who tabled a question in the House of Keys over what the impact of I'll Learn's closure would be.
In early years provision, for instance, some of the different levels of courses they do, if they go, there was no other provision on Ireland. So I want to know if this is being taken seriously, because there is an impact across the whole of the public sector provision, not just education, but health as well. And one of the things we know is that people who are trained on Ireland and are locals are more likely to stay in these type of jobs than people we bring in who may stay a few years and then move on. We get much better retention from those who are trained locally. So I want to make sure that we're not going to end up with a huge gap in the market and potentially end up with actually additional costs where people are having to go to the UK and train, or even worse, people just aren't willing to do it and aren't entering these industries that are already under staffing pressures.
You've touched on it there, but we had a childcare company tell us after this announcement that it leaves a void on the island and it's a body blow to the government's childcare strategy. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, I've been speaking to some of the childcare providers and they are seriously concerned. The childcare strategy, and if we are going to get that implemented as a government, then we need these sort of things underpinning it. We need to have the learning experience. I've spoken already to individuals who are being affected by this already, who are concerned, who are wanting to do courses, who are wanting to actually enter the industry, that are now concerned that it's going to be made tougher for them to do so. And of course, like I say, if we're not getting the volume of people through, our already stretched healthcare industry and childcare industry could become unsustainable.
In response, the Education Minister told the Chamber she was due to be meeting with key providers and UCM to manage a potential fallout, but that her department was disappointed at the decision made by I'll Learn to close. I'll Learn says it's exhausted every possible option and says government won't intervene to support them. The organisation estimates they'd need in the region of 180 students per year to be financially sustainable, which is 60 more than was scheduled this year.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.